Welcome everyone to the awards ceremony for the Nillumbik Prize for Contemporary Writing and the launch of the anthology. My name is Dennis Coard. I'm an actor and I live in the wonderful Shire of Nillumbik, and I'll be your MC for today's online event. I'd first like to introduce Councillor Karen Egan, Mayor of Nillumbik, who will begin proceedings by acknowledging the traditional owners.
Thank you, Dennis. I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people who are the traditional custodians of the land we're on today and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to other Indigenous Australians present. Welcome to this rather unusual Nillumbik Prize award event celebrating the creativity of writers locally and across Australia. Although we would normally have presented these awards in Eltham at the library, doing so would have required too large a gathering at these times. Nevertheless, I'd also like to thank partners Yarra Plenty Regional Library for their support of the prize.
Before handing over to Councillor Egan for the all-important announcement of this year's winners, I'll explain a little about today's event. We are particularly excited that at the end of today's event, we'll be launching the Nillumbik Prize Contemporary Writing Anthology 2020. Before the launch, we'll present a short writing and musical collaborative performance created for this event by Illuminous. We will close today's event with the Anthology Launch, including information about where to obtain your copy of this wonderful collection.
Nillumbik Shire Council is proud to support literature and creative writing in our community and across Australia through the Nillumbik Prize for Contemporary Writing. 2020 marks the first awarding of this rebranded prize, which now alternates with the Nillumbik Prize for Contemporary Art. The Nillumbik Prize for Contemporary Writing features the Alan Marshall Short Story Award for the Best Short Story in the Open category. For 35 years, the Alan Marshall Award, which honours one of Eltham's most revered writers, has been highly valued by writers across Australia. The new Nillumbik Prize format includes two categories: fiction for short stories and a second literary category which will rotate through various forms of creative writing. The first of these, chosen for the 2020 prize, was creative nonfiction. I thank our dedicated judges in this category, Claire Coleman and Jeff Sparrow. In their report, included in the anthology I'll be launching later, Claire and Jeff observe, creative non-fiction fits awkwardly into the cracks of genre in ways that many might find discomforting. Yet when you judge a competition during pandemic, the importance of the category becomes strikingly apparent. Great creative non-fiction requires the writer to be able to both imagine and express as a novelist might, while observing and analysing as adeptly as a journalist. The combination requires rare skill. It is demonstrated admirably in our winning entries. First, to the local category. I have pleasure in announcing that the best work of creative non-fiction by a local writer in the Nillumbik Prize for Contemporary Writing 2020 has been awarded to The Things We Leave Behind by Alessandra Pranotto.
Nonna's letters tend to begin with a meditation on her surroundings. The quality of the sun, the birds in the garden, whether it's raining, whether it's cold. Then, once we can imagine the view from her typewriter, her prose turns into what she calls the everyday chronicle of my quiet little world. I meet all the people within it. Wilson, the gardener who comes on Fridays. Goodness, Nonna's carer. The African vendor at the corner who waves his newspaper as she approaches. Her daughter Michaela, who visits between marking biology papers. And the four ladies who meet at the Dante Alighieri Society on Tuesdays. I start to get to know them, the way you get to know characters from a reality TV show. A month after our departure, Nonna comments plainly that our old house in Joburg is as clean as a whistle. It was the house Dad lived in all his life. We'd taken much of the furniture with us, and the picture marks on the walls, the last traces of our presence, had come off beautifully, she says. But we seem to leave some less tangible residues. I constantly see and feel you, especially the girls, around the house, Nonna writes to Dad. I see them every day, how they used to go around the house and garden, and I hear the little voices complete with the odd cry and plenty of laughter. The things we leave behind.
Congratulations, Alessandra. The judges decided not to award a prize in the youth category for creative non-fiction this year. They noted that young writers should be encouraged to explore the potential of creative non-fiction. So on to the open category. I have pleasure in announcing that the best work of creative non-fiction in the Nillumbik Prize for Contemporary Writing 2020, open category, has been awarded to Anna Jacobson's intimate glimpse of a psychotic break and its aftermath. Songs from the Vault.
This is from Songs from the Vault. She sits at the breakfast table and makes her way through a bowl of cereal. She loves the taste of the crunchy cornflakes with cold milk. She adds some sugar. A nurse scolds her. You were meant to fast for your round of ECT this morning, Anna. Now we'll have to reschedule your treatment. How else will you get better? Get better. There is something wrong with her. She calls her mother from the nurse's station in tears. She glimpses a photograph of herself paper-clipped to the manila folder of her file. In the photo, she is not looking at the camera or wearing her glasses. Her hair is witch wild and her eyes are heavy-lidded with dark circles beneath. She's shocked by her appearance. The nurse catches her looking. This is you. Surprised? The nurse's eyes mock her. At dinner time, her new friends pass her their desserts to cheer her up. She has all the pre-packaged chocolate mousse, rice puddings and chocolate milk breakers she could ever want. The pretty nurse with curly blonde hair does not take them away.
Congratulations, Anna, and so to our fiction category winners. I'd like to thank our fantastic judges in this category, Melanie Cheng and Sarah Schmidt. Melanie and Sarah were overwhelmed by some of the quality of the entries and are very eager to see how these writers develop over time. They note the importance of prizes such as the Nillumbik Prize for Contemporary Writing as vehicles for nurturing and promoting emerging talent. They awarded the best work of fiction in the Nillumbik Prize for Contemporary Writing 2020 by a local writer to the story Work Experience by Catherine Padmore, which they noted exhibited a mastery of the short story form, told in forensic detail through a series of detailed but unsentimental vignettes. The writer created an absorbing narrative with a convincing and memorable voice. I wholeheartedly agreed with their assessment, and I also have the pleasure to announce that Catherine's work is also this year's recipient of the inaugural Mayor's Award. Congratulations, Catherine.
On the bed sits the old woman who came at me in the front office, Ruth. She's staring up at the corner of the room, doesn't look my way as I slide the tray onto the wheelie table next to the bed. She's not moving, hardly seeming to blink. I follow her gaze to the aircon vent. A tiny bit of sticky tape flickers in the gust, but there's nothing else to see. It's awkward just standing there, and the soup will get cold. Your lunch, I say. The woman shifts her vision then, slowly, as if it's a battle to make her eyeballs do what she wants. When she finally locks onto me, I'm a mouse gazing up at a snake. Cold, the eyes are, and full of hate. Any second she'll have me. I back out of there as fast as I can, knocking my elbow on the door frame and nearly tripping over in my hurry. I'm 2 steps up the corridor when a crash comes from inside the room, a wail that rips my skin into goose flesh. On it goes, on and on. Dan strides towards me. He grabs my shoulders. You spoke, didn't you? He says.
The judges loved the insights into the minds and imaginations of the next generation of Australian writers who entered the youth section of the Fiction Awards, but one work stood out. It is with great pleasure that I can announce that the winner of the Nillumbik Prize for Contemporary Writing Youth Fiction goes to a work the judges praised as beautiful and believable. The prose was pared back and simple, but all the more evocative for its restraint. That work is Irene Liu's Heraeth.
From Heraeth. You were 12 years old when you first felt true hunger. True, constant hunger, though you had barely noticed it. Your face was gaunt, your eyes sunken in. At night, you lay in your bed, running your fingers up and down your ribs. You liked to imagine you were a musician, playing the harp in the darkness, plucking each string delicately, creating a symphony of sounds. Hunger had almost become a routine to you at that point. The empty feeling in your stomach, the hollow pain, the feeling that sprouted from deep within your belly and branched out of your throat. A gluttonous monster, reaching its many claws into the air.
Congratulations, Irene. I'm sure this award will be the spur for greater writing to come. The Alan Marshall Award has been a much sought after acknowledgement of the craft and ability of Australian fiction writers since it was first awarded in 1985. Awarded to the best short story in the open category, it is a significant achievement for any writer and carries the name of an Australian and Eltham literary great. One of the many things that can be said about Alan Marshall, two perhaps, are most relevant in the context of this award. The first is that none of his first 28 stories he wrote were accepted to be published during the first decade of his writing life. The second is that he was a teacher with a great belief in honest, well-written stories. So the open fiction category winner in the 2020 Nillumbik Prize for Contemporary Writing goes to Dominic Amarina for Show Don't Tell. Congratulations, Dominic. You are the winner of the 2020 Alan Marshall Short Story Award.
This is from Show Don't Tell. David gave his stump speech before the whiteboard about our strategy going forward. I wrote that our team was against business as usual, BAU. We were anti by the book. I wrote that our stakeholder engagement team was primed to proactively liaise with community members to ensure that the residential relocation process proceeded as smoothly as possible. In other words, we would do everything in our power to minimise the fuss kicked up by residents displaced by the freeway. Over cheeky chook poke bowls in the Collins Square food court, Elise and I added to our dictionary of degraded language, a list of terms and acronyms that we had been compiling since the beginning of the year. Through mouthfuls of edamame, we ran through the highlights from David's speech, coming up with working definitions where we could. We wrote the book by hand, which we thought gave it a patina of seditiousness. Congratulations to all our winners. This event is a celebration of writing. In the absence of our usual gathering, we needed a way to share that celebration. The performance you're about to see is just that, a celebration of writing. At its most fundamental, a tool that allows us to explore and express what it is to be human. Everyone, please enjoy Illuminous. Thank you so much to Indigo Perry and Andrew Darling, the creators behind Illuminous. This brings us to the last, but by no means the least, part of today's event. Councillor Egan.
Thanks, Dennis. The anthology of winning works has been a feature of the Alan Marshall Award for many years. With the creation of the Nillumbik Prize for Contemporary Writing and its additional categories, the 2020 anthology is now a substantial snapshot of great local and Australian writing. With the extracts he's read for us today, Dennis has done a great job whetting our appetite for the writing in this wonderful collection. I have pleasure in launching the Nillumbik Prize for Contemporary Writing Anthology 2020, and it will be available to purchase from the Nillumbik Prize website. There's a link on your screen, or to borrow from your nearest Yarra Plenty Regional Library branch. Thanks to everyone who entered this year's prize. We look forward to your participation in 2 years' time. Thank you.
Well, that brings our ceremony to an end. Congratulations once again to all our winners. Now, normally I would invite you to stay and enjoy a little Nillumbik hospitality, but that, as we know, will have to wait. This is Dennis Coard saying thank you very much for joining us. Stay well, stay safe.